When Order 66 was issued, Chancellor Palpatine bypassed Republic military command and directly contacted clone commanders to give the directive, making most non-clone admirals and generals unaware of what their troopers were doing until after the fact. So how did they react to the clones turning on the Jedi and wiping nearly all of them out? For most of the non-clone Republic admirals, generals, and officers, their reactions to Order 66 came out of indifference. Many came to believe in the Empire's tales of a Jedi rebellion, or were more concerned with their own military careers to not get mixed up with the politics of the Mystic Order that they knew little about outside of their service in the Clone Wars as generals. Quite a few were happy to hear of the Jedi's destruction, mainly due to the fact that there were many cases of by-the-book Republic admirals and commanders butting heads with their Jedi General counterparts. So hearing they were no longer going to be a nuisance toward their operations came as a sign of relief. Others were satisfied in learning how the Empire gave their personal records of accomplishments of the Jedi during the Clone Wars, with many former Republic admirals and commanders being proclaimed as heroes for battles and campaigns that had been instead achieved by the destroyed Jedi. But not all of the admirals and officers felt this way, with a handful privately coming to terms that it was the Jedi that were betrayed, and that the Empire was the one that had taken over the Republic. Most that held these views were smart enough to keep them secret, as they heard of stories of those who spoke out were known for being thrown out of the military, arrested for treason, and possibly even killed. A large gathering of these former Republic officers came to see this firsthand during the early days of the Empire, when the gathered men were greeted by Emperor Palpatine and the newly constructed Darth Vader. While Palpatine was clarifying the story of the Jedi attack on him, one of the officers spoke out, proclaiming his disbelief in such a terrible act being committed by the Jedi. As the officer continued to challenge the Emperor's claims, he was swiftly executed by Darth Vader after being force-choked and slammed toward the ground in front of all the other officers, instilling fear into the rest and cementing the notion the Empire did not tolerate any disobedience from its soldiers. Most of the others came to obey their new rulers without question, with a majority becoming more concerned with climbing up the new Imperial hierarchy than fighting the believed lies of the Empire on the Jedi Order. While a large chunk of the admirals and officers got into their place in serving the Empire without question, a handful of other officers were known to go behind Palpatine's back when it came to hunting Jedi survivors. One of these officers was Commander Terron, who saw the honorable actions of the Jedi firsthand during the Clone Wars. He came to discover surviving Jedi Master Kakruk, along with a few others and a small group of younglings. Terron came to actually call upon Kakruk and met the Jedi privately. At first, Kakruk confronted Terron on Order 66 and why the Jedi were betrayed. Terron defended himself, explaining how the order was given by the highest authority of the government, and that he and the other commanders were unaware of it until only after it took place. He continued to explain how there were others like him within the Imperial military that held similar sympathies, but were all afraid of speaking out knowing their lives would be at risk. Nonetheless, Terron admitted to becoming hopeful after learning that Kakruk had a group of younglings with him, understanding that the future of the Jedi Order had not been fully erased. Following that, Terron came to aid Kakruk and the other survivors by providing them goods with his own salary, as well as making sure no Imperial eyes came near their hideout inside an ancient abandoned Jedi temple. Terron was not the only one who knew of their existence, however, as his old war colleague, Captain Denimore, was also aware of them. And just like Terron, Denimore also had served under Kakruk in the Clone Wars, and had come to respect the Jedi, so much so that he even lied to one of Darth Vader's personal aides when asked if there were any reports of Jedi near the systems he patrolled in his Star Destroyer. The fates of either Terron and Denimore are currently unknown, but they likely both defected to the Rebel Alliance 2 decades later, along with most of the other Imperials who held strong sympathies toward the Jedi Order and didn't trust the Empire's propaganda of their betrayal during the Clone Wars.